back to Infowar.co's News from the Front. Today is January 14th, 2011. Happy New Year. This is going to be a month in review of December and this past 2 weeks in 2011. To get started, Secretary Napolitano announced his expansion of If You See Something, Say Something campaign with Walmart stores across the nation. It happened in Germany with the Gestapo. It happened in Cuba with the Communist Party, and now it's happening in America. If you suspect your neighbor is a terrorist, or you simply don't like him, all you need to have to do now is report to the Department of Homeland Security at your local Walmart. And what about due process law, activists, etc.? No, don't worry about the Constitution. This is something of the past, and DHS is the new king, the city mayor, the prosecution, and the judge. Nowadays, suspicion is enough to wind you detained or in jail. Here's what they're going to be playing at flat screen TVs at your local Walmart.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Walmart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
So this message is very reminiscent of George Orwell's 1984, where you have Big Brother's face on the screen, wrapped around the flag and patriotism, telling you to spy on your fellow neighbors. And I mean, this is going to open Pandora's box of, paranoid grandmas and, just overall, schizo people, telling on anyone that they don't like. And racism, forget about it. You're going to have people telling on people just because they don't like the color of their skin, they don't like what they're wearing, etc. If you actually stop paying attention to Julian Assange and actually read what's coming out on their wires, you will see that last month the United States tax dollars funded Dyncorp child sex slavery in Afghanistan. An update in a statement, Dyncorp Vice President of Communications Ashley Vanderstall Burke confirms that contractors have hired a 17-year-old boy to perform at an employee's going-away party, but denied that drugs and alcohol were involved. So the pedophilia and, watching little boys dance underage is fine, but, no drinking on the job. U.S. State Department called ownership of Afghan dancing boy a culturally sanctioned form of male rape. The Afghanistan Interior Minister was so concerned about an incident where Dyncorp, a U.S. contractor charged with training Afghan police, brought drugs and paid for young dancing boys, that he asked the U.S. Embassy to work to squash the story. Obamacare mandate thrown out by Judge Bloomberg. The Obama administration requirement that most citizens maintain minimum health coverage as part of a broad overhaul on the industry is unconstitutional, and a federal judge ruled, striking down the linchpin of the plan. U.S. District Judge Henry Hudson in Richmond, Virginia, ruled that the requirement that the President Barack Obama's health care legislation goes beyond Congress's powers to regulate interstate commerce, while severing the coverage mandate, which was to become effective in 2014. Foremen sue cop in New York for false imprisonment due to laughter. This is the New York Daily News. 4 Queensmen claim they were locked up for more than 30 hours by cops seeking revenge on a crowd of men who laughed at an officer who couldn't catch a fleeing drug suspect. The men insist they didn't even laugh, says their lawyer, Gabriel Harvis, who filed the suit against the NYPD and 10 unidentified officers in Brooklyn federal court. Obama's new tax on rainwater. Would President Obama's Environmental Protection Agency really force Americans to pay tax on rainwater runoff from homes and small businesses? You bet they would. In fact, the EPA, under radical environmentalist Lisa Jackson, proposing regulations to do just that. Take a look at the EPA's own Federal Register filing, where the EPA generally describes the initiative in its proposing. Quote, requirements, including design or performance standards, for stormwater discharge from, at minimum, newly developed and redeveloped sites. EPA intends to propose regulatory options that would revise the NPDES regulations and establish a comprehensive program to address stormwater discharges from newly developed and redeveloped sites, and to take final action no later than November 2012. Father harassed by CPS, that's the Child Protective Services, for feeding kids organic food, from InfoWars. A father of two has been harassed and investigated by Child Protective Services and police for feeding his daughters organic food, refusing to make them drink fluoride-poisoned tap water, and not having them injected with mercury-laden vaccines, all of which constitutes, quote, suspicious activity, unquote, in the new Sovietized America, a foretaste of what's to come once big-sis Walmart spy campaign gets up and running. The man states that a child abuse investigation was launched after one of his neighbors reported him to the authorities, prompting a CPS worker to visit his home accompanied by a police officer, during which she bombarded him with questions and conducted a warrantless search of his house, even down to the contents of his refrigerator. She said that there were allegations that I wouldn't give my children tap water, writes the father, before noting how he explained to the woman that municipal tap water is in most parts of the United States poisoned with sodium fluoride, a form of toxic waste that contributes to innumerable health problems, including disorders affecting teeth, bones, and the brain and the thyroid gland, as well as lowering IQ. The woman's line of questioning took an even more bizarre turn after she told him that one of the accusations against him led to allegations of child abuse, that he fed his daughters organic food. That's right, Americans actually think that if you don't feed your children genetically modified, gluten-stuffed, high-fructose corn syrup crammed, aspartame-laden garbage like KFC or McDonald's, then you're probably a child abuser. Eating natural, clean, healthy food, not sprayed with sickening pesticides, is now suspicious activity in the United States. A good friend of Infowar.co, federaleject.com, was recently on the Alex Jones show, talking about the anonymous digital movement and digital activism and the Infowar. FederalJack's security consultant, codename Winston Smith, was on Alex Jones' radio show on December 15th, 2010 to discuss Wikileaks, the anonymous movement, and how things are coming from the digital underground.
Well, thanks for having me on. Well, basically the group Anonymous itself, it's not a government operation. It's not run by the government. It's just basically citizens on the internet. There's not really controlled or run by anyone, but because it's so decentralized like that, anyone can jump on and make suggestions and basically fan the flames in whatever direction they want. So there are definitely operatives within the anonymous community, and they're definitely on there fanning the flames to promote infrastructure attacks and denial of service attacks on financial systems and other systems that end up affecting average people that the powers that be, they're not really too concerned about. They'll lose service for a bit, but then they'll come right back on once everyone gets tired. And
this is the false flag on the web that I've been predicting.
Yeah, yes. The reason they're doing that is they want to implement the government IDS sensors in front of things that they deem critical infrastructure. Google's already deployed an Einstein surveillance system, and the Einstein IDS was developed by the NSA, and they're really pushing that to have that put in front of private business networks that are deemed critical infrastructure. So,
and that's the whole Homeland Security takeover with InfraGard, clergy response, Basically, everything is critical infrastructure. That's in the Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Act, where any ISP that has over 100 customers has to be government approved and have government snoop hubs in it.
It's a great, well, this video is 13 minutes and 14 seconds, but you can, if you're a prisonplanet.tv subscriber, you can actually listen to the whole 2 hours. It's very in-depth, very excellent. Ancient tooth found in Israel. Humans may have been around 400,000 years ago. Israeli archaeologists said Monday that they have found the earliest evidence yet for the existence of modern man, and if so, could upset theories of the origin of humans. A Tel Aviv University team excavating a cave in central Israel said teeth found in the cave are about 400,000 years old and resemble those of other remains of modern man, known scientifically as Homo sapien, found in Israel. The earliest Homo sapien remains found until now are half as old. Hawaii governor wants to reveal Obama's birth info. This should be interesting. Democratic Governor Neil Abercrombie wants to find a way to release more information about President Barack Obama's Hawaii birth and dispel conspiracy theories that he was born elsewhere. Abercrombie was a friend of Obama's parents and knew him as a child, and deeply troubled by the efforts to cast doubt on the president's citizenship. I mean, how hard is it for the CIA to get some kid like me to get on Photoshop and make a birth certificate already? You know? Of course he wasn't born here, and of course he's a puppet of the New World Order. But come on, CIA, just forge another document like you do every day, you know, so you could get the birthers off your back. I mean, biological weapons murder cover-up. EU Times, a shocking report prepared for Prime Minister Putin by the Foreign Military Intelligence Directorate states that one of the United States' top experts on biological and chemical weapons was brutally murdered after threatening to expose a U.S. military test of poison gas that killed hundreds of thousands of animals in Arkansas this past week, well, last month. According to this report, John P. Wheeler III, Special Assistant in the Secretary of the Air Force, Washington, D.C. from 2005 to 2008, when he became the Special Assistant to Acting Assistant Secretary for the Air Force for Installations, Logistics, and Environment, was found brutally murdered and dumped in a landfill. And he was read reportedly by Fox News. Delaware police are investigating the apparent murder of a former Bush official who also championed the fundraising effort to build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the Mall in Washington, D.C. Wheeler's body was found in Wilmington on Friday. According to police, somebody intentionally reported that there was a body dumped out on a refuse truck, which would have been coming from Newark into the landfill. Newark police spokesman Lieutenant Mark Farrell told Fox News that nobody had reported Wheeler missing before he was found. The Wilmington News-Journal reported that Wheeler was last seen riding an Amtrak train from Washington to Wilmington, Delaware last Tuesday. Arizona assassin obsessed with mind control from Prison Planet. Does this ring a bell for anyone? Young white male delusion, confused, mentally deranged, and opening fire on innocent people. That was the pattern we saw on Columbine High School shooting in 1999, and it turned out that the shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, were on psychiatric medications. In fact, numerous public shootings have been carried out by those who are either on psychiatric medications or who have recently stopped taking them, which can be just as dangerous in the short term. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold talked about how their world would become like a dream, where they couldn't tell the difference between the dream world and the waking world. Those are now virtually the same words as Jared Lee Loughner, who in his various ramblings talked about sleepwalking during the day and conscious dreaming at other times. Here's his mugshot. Jared Lee Loughner, man accused of shooting 18 people, including Representative Gabriel Giffords, made a brief appearance in court to formally hear the charges against him. A preliminary hearing was set for January 24th this month. That's in 10 days. To end on a lighter note, God is Not Gay, the Book of Noah. Check us out maybe next week, maybe the week after. I don't know. We'll see. Take care.
But there was one man who was still very good. His name was Noah. He was a friend of God. Just a friend, so don't know. Just a friend. A friend with big hooped earrings. Rouge. What's he doing? He lives in a cave. What's he doing with this? What are you doing? Seeing God? You never know.